Okay, uh, till now we have discussed for starting from baseband modulation schemes like PCM, DPCM, delta modulation, and adaptive delta modulation. Then we have slowly started introduction to digital band pass modulation schemes like GSOP, noise analysis, and then we have started band pass modulation schemes. Those includes BPSK, uh, BFSK, BASK, and then we have also discussed MSK, minimum shift keying, and QPSK, minimum shift keying and QPSK we have discussed. Then non-coherent modulation schemes also we have gone through. So in non-coherent modulation schemes we have seen non-coherent FSK and then DPSK, differential pulse shift phase shift keying, differential phase shift keying, DPSK also we have gone through. And then we start with receivers, and again let us briefly discuss the basic mathematical model of digital communication system. So where we have a message source that generates message symbols, then these message symbols are transmitted through vector transmitter, where the message symbols are converted into vector signals, and after vector transmitter we pass through a modulator where actually the carriers will exist, and after modulator only we can able to get modulated signal. Till this point only after modulator only now this is in the form of a signal. Till modulator we will be having some vector signals and message symbols. Then this transmitted signal is passed through channel where some noise also added, and then we will get some received signal x of t, and this received signal is passed through a detector, and detector will do opposite job of modulator. Okay, modulator and detector are opposite operations. So after detector we have vector signals. This vector signal is nothing but this transmitted vector signal plus some noise. Okay, Si plus some noise is nothing but the received vector signal x, and then this received vector signal is passed through vector receiver. There finally the estimate of transmitted symbols can be obtained. Okay, and now we will elaborate this detector and vector receiver further. Okay, we will see what is there inside this detector and vector receiver blocks. Okay, so we have for receivers we have two kinds of receivers in digital communication systems. One is correlation receiver, another one is matched filter receiver. Okay, correlation receiver, another one is matched filter receiver. So for both the receivers the vector receiver is a common block. Okay, the vector receiver is a common block, but the detector, okay, if you see here, first we have a detector, then we have vector receiver. So this vector receiver is common for both correlation receiver as well as matched filter receiver, but this detector will vary according to either correlation receiver or matched filter receiver. So the detector for correlation receiver is like this. Okay, the detector for correlation receiver is something like this. So in this correlation receiver, what is there? We have a received signal, noisy received signal, and this noisy received signals will be passed through different correlators. Phi 1 of t correlator, each correlator is having a multiplier and an integrator. So in the multiplier we will multiply the received signal with each basis functions. So there are n basis functions and m energy signals. So we multiply or correlate with correlate the received signal with n number of correlators totally. Okay. So then after correlation, the observation vector we can able to get. Okay. And this observation vector is fed to vector receiver then. So again, if you see the previous block diagram, so in the after detector we will have a vector observation vector receiver received signal, and then this observation vector signal is fed to vector receiver. So in the vector receiver, now what we do, we multiply the vector signal with m. Sorry, here it is not n, this is m, it should be m. Okay. M number of transmitted vector signals. Okay. S1 to Sm are the transmitted vector signals, and x is the received vector signal or received observation signal, observation vector. Okay. So since this is our transmitted vector signal and x is received observation vector, so we know the multiplication of received vector, observation vector and transmitting vector signal are passed through accumulator, and this accumulator will give inner product of both these signals x and S1. Similarly, the second accumulator will provide inner product of x and S2, and similarly mth accumulator will give inner product of x and Sm. And for example, if after getting this all accumulator outputs, we will normalize its energy. That means if energies are different for different signals, then we should make them all into uniform energy signals. So for that, but anyhow, generally the transmitted signal vectors we are considering as same energy, only E only, not E1 to EM. All symbols we assume that they are having same energy levels. So we no need to do this in fact. And once after getting this accumulator outputs, select the largest one, the accumulator which will give the largest value, that we will choose, and that corresponding vector signal we assume it as transmitted. Okay. Which transmitting signal vector will give maximum accumulator output, that will be assumed to be transmitted, and the message symbol corresponding to that transmitting vector signals are estimated as m cap. Okay. We will see one example, we will come to know easily. Done. So let us take, we are using a QPSK modulation scheme, and transmitted symbol is 10. We are using QPSK modulation scheme and transmitted symbol is 10. Then how our vectors detector and vector receiver would be, let us see that. So this is our detector. So the received signal x of t will be received, and if the transmitting symbols are 10, what is the corresponding transmitted signal? X of t will be like square root of e phi 1 of t minus square root of e phi 2 of t, and coming to received signal, noise will be added n of t. So after adding noise n of t to the transmitting signal, we will get the received signal x of t. Okay. Now this x of t should be passed through both the correlators, and first correlator we have first basis function phi 1 of t. In QPSK we have phi 1 of t as square root of 2 by t cos 2 pi f c t, and second correlator has the basis function phi 2 of t. So in QPSK phi 2 of t is square root of 2 by t sin 2 pi f c t. Okay. So after multiplying with both the basis functions, we will pass the multiplied signal through two different integrators. Then we will get x1 x2, two variables of observation vector. So what is x1? X1 is nothing but integration of x of t and phi 1 of t, integration of x of t and y of phi 1 of t. So x1 of t is this square root of e phi 1 of t minus square root of e phi 2 of t plus n of t is the signal x of t. Okay. Then this should be multiplied with phi 1 of t dt. Okay. And similarly x2 of t is phi 2 of t x of t product and passing through integrator. So this is our x of t, received signal x of t. So that is multiplied with phi 2 of t into dt. And again revisiting GSOP, Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization, integration of 0 to t phi I of t into phi j of t is equal to 1 if I equal to j, equal to 0 if I is not equal to j. Okay. So the product integration under product of two same basis functions will give unit energy 1. So the product of integration under product of two different basis functions will be equal to 0 energy. Okay. So now using that phi 1 of t will be square root of e. Okay. So integration of 0 to t phi 1 of t into phi 1 of t will be 1, that multiplied by square root of e is square root of e. And similarly phi 2 of t phi 1 of t under integration will give 0. So 0 into square root of e is 0, and integration of 0 to t n of t phi 1 of t is n, some noise let me take n. So the observation point x1 will be square root of e plus n. Whereas coming to x2, now let us multiply phi 1 of t phi 2 of t, two different basis functions. So the integration of 0 to t phi 1 of t phi 2 of t will be 0, and then integration of 0 to t square root of e phi 2 of t is 1, that is nothing but minus square root of e plus some noise n. So now we have observation vector square root of e plus n minus square root of e plus n. So the detector will give this observation vector, and for our example of QPSK we got the observation vector x1 x2 as like this. Okay. Then this observation vector is now fed to vector receiver. Okay. So this is our vector receiver. So the vector receiver is first multiplied with all transmitting signal vectors S12, S2, S3, S4. Since in QPSK, since we have 4 symbols, corresponding to 4 symbols, 4 vector signals will be there. Okay. So first vector signal is square root of e minus square root of e minus square root of e. Second vector signal is minus square root of e square root of e. Third vector signal is square root of e minus square root of e. Fourth vector signal is square root of e plus square root of e. Okay. So now we will generate inner product of the received vector signal with all transmitting vector signals. So accumulator will give inner product. So that means the first accumulator output will be square root of e plus n multiplied by minus square root of e plus minus square root of e plus n into minus square root of e. So that product will be something like this. Here for my notational simplicity, I am assuming that square root of e into noise I am assuming it as some n tilde. Okay, n tilde I am assuming that is that n tilde. So the first accumulator output is minus 2 n tilde. Okay, blindly if you see minus plus will be minus, minus will be plus. So if I sum both of them, both gets cancelled and finally noise only will be there. And similarly the second accumulator output will be here, if you see minus square root of e plus square root of e minus square root of e, that will give minus e, then minus will be minus, plus will be again minus. So minus will be minus square minus 2e. Similarly third accumulator output, now plus will be plus and minus is plus, so sum will be 2e. And finally we have fourth accumulator output, that is plus is plus, minus is minus. So plus minus gets cancelled, only 2 n tilde will be there. And now out of these 4 accumulator outputs, which one is largest one? Obviously 2e is the largest one. So minus 2 n tilde, so noise magnitude will be much less than signal energy. And then we have minus 2e and 2e third accumulator output, and fourth accumulator output is 2 n tilde. So since out of these 4 accumulator outputs, the third accumulator output yielding maximum value. So this third accumulator is corresponding to S3 transmitting signal vector, and S3 is square root of e minus square root of e. So this vector is corresponding to symbol 1 0. So we can assume 1 0 is transmitted from transmitting side. So like this, by using vector detector and vector receiver, we can able to estimate the transmitting symbol vectors. Okay. Now we have matched filter receiver. So in matched filter receiver also, as I said, the vector receiver is same, but the detector will vary. So how this detector will vary, let us see now. So let me take, I have a matched filter like this with impulse function hj of t, and hj of t impulse function I have chosen it as phi j of capital T minus small t, where capital T is symbol duration. So for the given filter, I have given output x of t, and then corresponding output is yj of t. Okay, corresponding output is yj of t. So what is yj of t now? Yj of t is nothing but convolution between input signal x of t and impulse response of the filter hj of t. So convolution between x of t and hj of t will give yj of t. So the output of this filter is yj of t is nothing but integration of minus infinity to infinity x of tau hj of t minus tau d tau. Now let us take the impulse response hj of t as phi j of capital T minus small t. Okay. So now we will substitute in equation 3.30. So if I replace t with t minus tau, then h, what is h? Sorry. Then h j of t minus tau will be just in place of t, if I replace t minus tau, then it will be phi j of capital T minus t, I am replacing with t minus tau. So t plus tau. Okay. So hj of t minus tau will be phi j of capital T minus small t plus tau. Just replace that. So after replacing that, then we can get the output of filter as given in equation 3.32. Now what I will do, I am going to sample the output of this filter with capital T at capital T. So T I am replacing with capital T. So T, if I replace with capital T, then the output of the filter is integration of minus infinity to infinity x of tau phi j of tau d tau. And now we are obviously assuming that the phi j of t, the signal phi j of t is defined only between 0 to capital T. So beyond this boundary, the signal is, for example, if I have a sinusoidal signal, only from 0 to capital T the signal is defined. So beyond this range, other than the given time period, the signal is 0. So by looking into that property, we can limit the limits of integration from only 0 to t. Instead of minus infinity to plus infinity, we can limit the limits of integration from only 0 to capital T. So y j of capital T is now integration of 0 to t x of tau phi j of tau d tau. So now so how this equation looks like now, equation 3.34. This equation is moreover same as our correlation receiver only. So in the correlation receiver, if you see each correlator output, what is x1 here? X1 is nothing but integration of 0 to t x of t phi I of t, phi j of t. So the same thing we can able to, the output of correlation receiver can be able to get by using a filter, by keeping a filter whose impulse response as phi j of capital T minus small t, and after that we have sampled at capital T. So by replacing the correlator with a filter whose impulse response is matched to phi j of capital T minus small t, and later by sampling at t is equal to capital T, the same output we can able to get. Okay. So for example, if I take this signal, if I take this detector, the received signal x of t, is now passed through instead of a correlator. So in correlator what we have? We have a multiplier, that is phi j of t. After multiplier we have an integrator 0 to t. Okay. So these two blocks we are replacing with a filter whose impulse response is phi j of capital T minus small t, and then we have sampled that signal at t is equal to capital T, then the same output we can able to get. So the matched filter output is same as your correlator, but in practice it is very difficult to make a correlator. Instead of this, a simple digital filters are easy to generate. Okay. So since the hardware complexity is mostly high in case of correlation receiver, we often refer or prefer to use matched filter in place of correlation receiver. Instead of correlation receiver, frequently we go for matched filter, because by using a simple filter and sampler we can able to get the same output. And once observation vector we got, then this observation vector again is given to vector receiver, same as this. same as this vector receiver, we can able to the matched filter output we can fed to this vector receiver to estimate transmitting signal vector. As I said earlier, the vector receiver is same for case of both correlation receiver and matched filter receiver, but the vector receiver is same, but detector portion will be varied. In correlation receiver we have multiple correlators, but in matched filter receiver, instead of correlator we have a simple filter and then we have a sampler. Then maximization of output signal to noise ratio. Why it is why it is required? So as I said here, if the filter impulse response is matched to phi j of t minus t, then the output SNR will be maximum. So as a given statement here, a filter whose impulse response is time reversed and delayed version of some signal phi j of t, then it is said to be matched to phi j of t. Correspondingly, the optimum receiver based on the detector is referred to the matched filter receiver. When it is happened, then at sampling time t is equal to capital D, the signal SNR, signal to noise ratio, will be maximum. So we need to prove that inequality now. Now let us take condition of matched filter, a matched filter like this as shown in figure 3.10, where we have a known signal phi of t, and this signal is added with noise, white Gaussian noise W of t, and received at the receiver side, and at the receiver we have passed the received signal, let me take received signal through a matched filter whose impulse response is h of t. So then after matched filter we have received a signal y of t, and this filter is sampled at this signal, received signal is sampled at t is equal to capital T. Okay. So the received signal, here we have received signal x of t. So this is received signal x of t is nothing but phi of t plus w of t, phi of t plus w of t. Okay, and then y of t is the filter after matched filter, the received signal. So this x of t convolution with h of t, x of t convolution with h of t is our received signal y of t, filter output y of t. Okay, h of t convolution with x of t is nothing but y of t, and x of t is nothing but phi of t plus w of t. So h of t convolution between h of t and phi of t will be phi naught of t, and convolution between h of t and w of t is nothing but n of t. Okay, convolution between x of t and h of t will be now the filter output, matched filter output, where phi naught and n naught are produced by the signal and noise component of the input x of t respectively. A simple way of describing the requirement that the output signal component phi naught of t be considerably greater than the output noise component n of t is to have the filter make the instantaneous power in the output signal phi naught of t measured at time t equal to capital T as large as possible compared with the average power of the output noise n of t. This is equivalent to maximizing the output signal to noise ratio as. So that means if the filter is matched to impulse response of the matched filter is matched to phi j of capital T minus small t, the output SNR will be maximized. So that how, let us see. So the output signal to noise ratio is output signal power divided by output noise power, average noise power. So here the signal is, the received signal is phi naught of t and noise signal is n of t. So signal power means power of phi naught of t and noise power means power of n of t. Okay. What is phi naught of t? Phi naught of t is phi naught of t is nothing but convolution between phi of t and x of t, phi of t and x of t. So convolution will be multiplication in frequency domain. So if I convert in frequency domain, then phi naught of f will be phi of f into x of f. Then apply inverse Fourier transform, then you will get phi naught of t. So phi naught of t is, first we have multiplied in frequency domain h of f and phi naught of f, then apply inverse Fourier transform, then from frequency domain again you can come back to time domain. Okay. So phi naught of t is this, and power of this signal phi naught of t absolute square is nothing but this, as given in 3.38. Now let us consider next the effect of noise W of t alone on the filter output. The power spectral density Sn of f of the output noise n of t is equal to the power spectral density of input noise W of t times the squared magnitude of the transfer function h of f. Since W of f is drawn from the white with constant power spectral density n naught by 2, it follows that, so the power spectral density Sn of f is n naught by 2 into h of f whole square. So n naught by 2 is input noise power spectral density. Okay, input noise power spectral density. Again let me take, so this is the input signal, x of t is input to the filter input. So W of t is having power spectral density n naught by 2. Okay, power spectral density n naught of t, then output noise, this is filter input, x of t is filter input and y of t is filter output. So input signal is phi naught of t, input noise is W of t, output signal is phi naught of t and output noise is n of t. So input noise power spectral density is n naught by 2 and filter transfer function is h of f. So h of f whole square into input power spectral density is nothing but output power spectral density. So the output power spectral density is n naught by 2 h of f whole square. So the average power output noise, the power spectral density after integrating you will get total power, output noise power. Okay, power spectral density if you integrate, always total value you will get. Similarly, if I integrate over minus infinity to infinity Sn of f df, then we will get output noise power. So now we have output signal power as given in 3.38 and output noise power as given in 3.40. So output signal to noise ratio is like this. Okay, integration of h of f phi of f e power of minus j 2 pi f t df whole square divided by absolute square divided by n naught by 2 integration of minus infinity to infinity absolute value of h of f square into df. And now our problem is to find while holding Fourier transform phi of f of the input signal fixed, the form of transfer function h of f of the filter that makes output signal to noise ratio a maximum. to find the solution to this optimization problem, we apply a mathematical result known as Squar's inequality to the numerator of equation 3.41. So, now what we will do, we use a Squar's inequality and we will modify the numerator of equation 3.41. And according to Squar's inequality, if you have a signal something like this, integration of minus infinity to infinity phi 1 of x into phi 2 of x dx whole square will be less than or equal to individual integrators. Integration of minus infinity to plus infinity phi 1 of x whole square dx and integration of minus infinity to infinity x2 of x whole square dx. This will happen if and only if phi 1 of x is constant times phi 2 conjugate of x. Okay. If we have two limited signals, finite signals, phi 1 of t, phi 1 of t means their energy will be finite value. If you have two finite energy signals, then the overall integration of product of two signals, those two signals whole square will be less than or equal to individual integration product of individual integrations. So, integration of so this is, we can say, energy of product of these two signals. Energy of product of these signals is less than or equal to product of energies of two signals. Okay. This will hold only if x1 of x is k times phi 2 conjugate of x. And now phi 1 phi 2 in this equation. Now let me take h of f as phi 1 and phi of f e power of j 2 pi f t as phi 2. Okay. So, x1 of x is h of f and x2 of x is phi of f e power of j 2 pi f t. Then if I take these two, and now by using this inequality and this inequality, we can write like this: the energy of product of these two signals is less than or equal to product of energies of individual signals. Okay. So, absolute value of e power of j 2 pi f t whole square is equal to unity. So, only phi of f whole square and already we have h of f whole square. And where now by substituting that, now let me take this equation 3.41. Now the numerator will be substituted. Now the numerator SNR output will be less than or equal to h of f integration of minus infinity to infinity h of f whole square into integration of minus infinity to infinity phi of f whole square. Then h of f, this h of f whole square gets cancelled. So, output signal to noise ratio is less than or equal to 2 by n naught integration of minus infinity to infinity phi of f whole square. Okay. So, SNR output is less than or equal to this value, then what is the maximum energy? So, maximum energy is equal to 2 by n naught. Okay. Always the output SNR will be less than this value, means the maximum value is this value 2 by n naught integration of minus infinity to infinity absolute value of phi of f whole square df. And when this will happen, again, when phi of x is equal to k times phi 2 conjugate of x. So phi h optimal value of f is nothing but phi conjugate e power of, conjugate means j component imaginary will be plus 2 minus minus 2 plus. So we have e power of j 2 pi f c t. So after applying conjugate, we have e power of minus j 2 pi f t. So h optimal of f is this value, where phi star of f, phi conjugate of is complex conjugate of Fourier transform of the input signal phi of t. This relation states that that except the necessary time delay factor e power of minus j 2 pi f t, the transfer function of optimum filter is same as complex conjugate of spectrum of input signal. So this equation 3.45 specifies the matched filter is matched filter in the frequency domain. To characterize it in time domain, we take the inverse Fourier transform. We will apply inverse Fourier transform to h optimal of f, then we can get impulse response of the matched filter as given like this. H opt of t, optimal value of t, is nothing but just this signal, apply inverse Fourier transform. So after applying, since the real valued signal phi of t, we have phi conjugate of f is nothing but phi of minus f. So we can write h optimal value of t as given here. Okay. So finally we conclude that optimal value h impulse response of the filter will be nothing but phi of capital T minus small t, and when it is happened, when we are maximizing output signal to noise ratio. When we are maximizing output signal to noise ratio, then we got impulse response of the filter as phi of t minus capital T. So inversely, what we can say, if the filter impulse response is this as given in equation 3.46, then obviously output signal to noise ratio will be maximum. Okay. So this equation 3.46 shows that the impulse response of the optimal filter is a time reversed and delayed version of input signal phi of t. That is, it is matched to input signal. Note that the only assumption we made about the input noise W of t are that it is additive, stationary and white with zero mean and power spectral density n naught by 2. That's how, by maximizing output signal to noise ratio, we can get impulse response of the filter which is time reversed and delayed version of input signal phi of t. So the filter is now matched to input signal. So if the filter is matched to input signal, then output noise signal to noise ratio will be maximum. That's all for this class. Thank you.